Good evening. It's July 13th, 2022, and welcome to the Town of Carmel Town Board work session. I call this meeting to order, and if everyone would please rise and face the flag. Councilman Baranowski will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. A moment of silence to recognize our men and women in uniform, as well as our members of law enforcement and all those who serve our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if there are any residents here in the audience that would like to get up and comment on agenda items only, you have 3 minutes. Okay, seeing as how there are no one that wants to get up and speak publicly, I first ask the board to review the minutes from the June 15th, July 1st, and July 6th minutes. Those were sent to you by our town clerk. The first item on the agenda is PKF O'Connor Davies, Accountants and Advisors, to review our annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021. Alan Casey, partner, is going to run us through that. Before we start, I just want to publicly thank Mary Ann Maxwell, our town controller, just doing a great job. Thank you so much for everything. Alan?
Very good. Thank you very much. Good evening. Okay. Rather than go through this 125-page report, I put together a synopsis of what's contained in there and some of the highlights. So we're going to go through that. Okay, we're going to go over our opinion, the auditor's report, a retrospective look at the general fund budget to actual, both the revenues and the expenditures, the other town funds, and then some closing points. Okay. Better? Okay, there we go. You're welcome. This is an abbreviated version of the auditor's report. Basically, it says that we completed the audit of the 2021 financial statements of the town of Carmel, and the objective of the audit was to obtain reasonable assurance, as opposed to absolute assurance, that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. The audit scope, it's a risk-based audit, which means that we focused on the evaluation of the town's operations to reduce audit risks to an acceptable level. Our primary focus was not on individual transactions, but on the financial statements that we're opining on taken as a whole. And then in our opinion, we issued what's known as a unmodified opinion, also a clean opinion. There's the clean opinion. Okay. This is a look at the general fund going back 4 years. Too far. Okay. As you can see, this is the fund balance section. The first line is the non-spendable fund balance, which are the prepaid expenditures. You get your retirement bill for the employees' retirement, the police and fire. You have an option to pay it in December or in February. By paying it in December, you generate what's known as a prepaid expenditure, which means that the money was expended in 21, but for expenses that are actually going to be recognized in 22. So that money is locked up, and that's $485,000. You have two reserves, one restricted for retirement at $200,000, which hasn't changed over the years, and the employee benefit accrued liability, which are compensated absences. the amount of time that employees earn for sick or vacation leave each year, and it gets accrued at the GASB level, okay? Then you have certain amounts that are committed. Basically, a commitment is less strict than a reserve, meaning the board established these commitments by passing a resolution, and you can uncommit them by the same action. All right, so currently you have committed fund balance, you have $400,000 for future budgets, you have $3 million for capital projects, $150,000 for vehicles, and $977,000 for improvements. Then you have your assigned fund balance, the purchase orders or encumbrances, which a purchase is issued prior to the end of the year, for which you haven't received the goods or services as of the end of the year. And then you have your subsequent year's expenditures. In 2021, it's $475,000. What you did was you took $475,000 out of the total fund balance and appropriated it to be used for the '22 budget, okay? Last year, you appropriated $110,000 and so forth. You also have assigned monies of $1.2 million for tax certiorari's. So your total assigned is $1 million, almost $1.9 million. Then you have your unassigned fund balance of $3,551,000. Now that went up from the prior year, as you can see, by $160,000. Okay. So your total fund balance is $12,428,000. The total fund balance went up about $3.4 million over the past 3 years. Okay, this is the general fund. It's a roll-up of the total general fund budget. Left to right, you have the original budget, the final budget, the actual results, and then the variance with the final budget. On the top, you have your total revenues, $21,105,000. It was increased slightly in the final budget, and the actual came in at $22,569,000, generating a positive budgetary variance of $1,410,000. On the expenditure side, the budget was around $21 million. The actual expenditures came in at $19 million, and that generated a positive budgetary variance of $2.4 million. As you can see on the bottom, some of the footnotes, the actual revenues increased by 6% over the prior year. The actual revenues increased by 1.9% over the prior year. And then you have your other financing sources and uses, the bracketed $1,715,000. Those are your transfers out. The majority of that was transferred to the debt service fund to pay the obligations on the bonds, and that was $1,400,000. So the net change in fund balance was $1,840,000. You add that to the fund balance at the beginning of the year, the $10,587,000, and your total fund balance at the end of the year, which we saw previously, is $12,428,000. Okay, here's the general fund actual budget and comparing it to the original budget, final budget, and the actual revenues. This is what you just looked at. Some of the key elements is the variance in the departmental income. They went up $55,000. And that was mostly from police fees. They were up $115,000 from the prior year. In the license and permits, you had a positive variance of $260,000, and it was up almost $400,000 from the prior year, and that was in the building, zoning, and sanitation fees. And the other large area was the state aid. That increased by $733,000 from the prior year, and you had a positive variance of $935,000, and the bulk of that is from the mortgage tax. Okay? And then we have the same situation with the expenditures. Okay, here are the expenditures. Again, the original budget was around $21 million. It was increased slightly to $23. The actual came in at $20,000,000 $748. And the actual expenditures, as I said before, increased by 1.9%, a little under 2%. And the dollar amount was $195,000. So on a $23 million budget, to go up less than 2% is pretty good. As I've said in years past, when you do your budget, the revenue budget has to be prepared conservatively, which you've always done, because aside from the property taxes, that's the only revenue you have control over. As we saw in 2020 with the pandemic, how certain fees and other revenues dropped. Although the mortgage tax went up because everybody left Manhattan and moved to the suburbs because they were all working remotely. So, but you have no control over the revenues. The expenditure side of the budget is where you have control, okay? So in this year, you did an excellent job controlling the budget. Okay, the general government support had a positive variance of a little over $1 million, and that was basically spread throughout the functions. Within the general government support, there are 30 different functions, and you can see it in the CAFR, in the ACFR, excuse me. And the positive variance was spread throughout there. The public safety, the largest variance was in the police. It had a positive variance of $844,000. And the reason being, in 2020, you paid out the compensated absences for 4 officers who retired in 2020. In 2021, you only had 1 officer retire. In addition, you also purchased more vehicles in 2020 than you did in 21. So overall, the expenditures were down, and you had a positive variance in the public safety of almost $900,000. The culture and recreation had a positive variance of $436,000, and that was mostly in the various parks. There are several categories of park and rec fees and so forth, and that had a positive variance of $414,000. So overall, as we mentioned before, the net change in fund balance was $1.8 million. But if you look in the final budget column, that bracketed $2,023,000, when you put the budget together, you anticipated utilizing $231,000 of your fund balance, which means that if all your revenues came in exactly on budget and all your expenditures came in exactly on budget, your fund balance would have been reduced by $231,000. In the final budget, that was increased to $2 million. So again, the same scenario, if all your budgeted items came in as budgeted, you would have utilized $2 million of your fund balance. But what actually happened is you had a surplus of $1.8 million, thereby generating an overall positive budgetary variance of almost $3.9 million. Any questions? Okay, this is a summary of all the other town funds, the highway fund, the special districts fund, which if you can see on the bottom are made up of water district, street lighting, sewer, park. You have your debt service fund, the capital projects fund, and the special purpose fund. All of the other funds had positive change in fund balance except for the capital projects fund, and that's the only fund that's in a deficit. But you also have $13 million of bond anticipation notes outstanding, as opposed to general obligation bonds. They're short-term borrowings, which means that every year you pay down basically 1/5 of what's outstanding, and when you pay it that becomes revenue. And over time, when those bonds are paid off, that deficit will be eliminated. Okay? Okay, there's a listing of all the special districts funds. As you can see, they all have positive fund balances. Okay, and then just some closing points. Again, we issued an unmodified clean opinion, the best opinion you could receive. The town has received this award 29 consecutive years. You're now going for your 30th with this CAFR. That's very impressive. There aren't very many municipalities in either Westchester or Putnam County that have that kind of track record. So not only the board, the finance department, everybody should be very proud of that accomplishment. Moody's gave the town a AA1 rating, and their definition of that rating is an obliger, has very strong capacity to meet its financial commitments. And again, we issued the report to those charged with governance, which is known as the management letter. There were no material deficiencies or significant deficiencies. There were a few control deficiencies, which for the most part are informational. And I'm sure you've all seen the letter. There's nothing major in there. The audit, I'd just like to thank Mary Ann. The audit went very smoothly, as it always does. Very well prepared. The finance department was cooperative, and basically there were no issues. So it was a very good year. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No questions, but again, this report shows that the town and those who are in charge of managing the finances continue to do a great job with being fiscally conservative. We have revenues that exceeded what our projections were, which is great, and we continue to maintain a AA1 bond rating for Moody's, which I think is unheard of, considering the times that we live in now and finances. And I don't know if there's any other town or municipality near us that has that as well. So I appreciate your hard work into the report, and it says a lot to those. It says a lot about the Controller's Office, and it says a lot about those who make the decisions on this.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct, and thank you.
Thank you, Alan. I just wanted to add, this, of course, is a great audit report. Thank you for the work, and of course, Mary Ann. And, to just mention to the board, we're on sound financial footing, and the challenge for us, of course, is to keep the course. So, thank you both.
You're very welcome.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Yes, great job.
Adios.
Should we put the lights back on? Thanks. And this is on the website, right?
This
This on the
report is
website,
on the
right?
website, correct?
Yeah, so,
Excellent.
so if anyone wants to read the report, it's under tonight's agenda on our website. So moving on to item number 2, Richard Franzetti, PE, Town Engineer. Consider request to accept proposal for smoke testing, Carmel Sewer District number 5.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As the supervisor mentioned, this is a notice, we have a notice violation consent order at Sewer District 5 that the board is aware of. It happened in November of 2015. The NOV cited failure to meet concentration-based and load-based ammonia limits in the wastewater. The facility also experiences flows that exceed the wastewater treatment plant permit limit. Typically, that's due to I&I, which is inflow and infiltration. We are, as you well know, have a facility upgrade that is required under the consent decree, not NOV, that's in my memo. And we requested, as part of that Infomark, the operator obtain quotes to perform smoke testing in this collection system. The purpose is to find those potential points of inflow and infiltration in the public portion of the sanitary system, go and correct them so that when we put the new plant online, that we're not immediately breaking permit by exceeding flows, because that would not be a good thing. So Infomark received quotes from Duke's Root Control, Wind River Environmental, and Inland Waters, ranging from $14,600 to $21,000. Town Controller has been consulted on this and confirms that the work would be funded through the future capital project for Sewer District 5, and those funds will be available in mid-August. And we recommend approval of Duke's Root Control to perform the smoke testing.
Thank you. Anybody have questions?
Rich, they're going to put up, as I saw here, the door hangers on all of the resident doors?
So we'll go through, yes, that will happen. We'll announce it, I'll have the board announce it when we're going to be doing it. We'll maybe get the variable message boards over there. We could do a reverse, we could do the text messaging. We'll get it on the webpage so that people aren't, when they see smoke
When they
coming
see
out of either the
smoke, yeah.
pipe or,
Yeah.
theoretically, it could be coming out of somewhere in their yard, that they don't get scared over it, that they'll be aware that we are performing studies over there as part of what we're doing.
Okay.
Is there a color to the smoke?
I believe it's just white.
Which white? Right. So-
If you want, maybe we can ask them for special colors, but,
You mean Pope versus no Pope?
I
right?
was just going to say the Pope.
That's pretty good, Frank.
And like you mentioned, we have an order on consent for this sewer district on top of the excessive water, which is what the first violation was for.
Correct.
And we already did a plan to upgrade this plant on that, and DEC moved the goalpost and is forced us to do another
Correct.
plan, which we're in the midst of
Well, it's
finalizing.
been finalized, it's been submitted to the DEC, so to follow up on what Supervisor Kazari is saying, if the board, to remind board members who were here or weren't here, this order of consent, if you noted in my memo, was November of 2015, and we're still moving on it here in 2022. So what happened was, we had negotiations with the DEC, we met with them, we have a permit that had certain parameters and certain limits to it that was X, right? We developed a report, it was John Falchetti Associates developed a report, we submitted it to the DEC, and lo and behold, right while we were submitting it, they said, well, wait a minute, those permit limits, no, we're changing them. And, you got to design this plant differently. And they were like, well, just that'll work. The one you have there will work. And it's like, no, it's not how an assessment or a facility plan is done. So we needed to go back in. We had to extend the due dates for the order on consent to move it forward. They've changed the goalpost, and we now have a plant that meets those goalposts that they have, or at least a design or preliminary facility report that they are reviewing. Should get it back in the next couple of weeks. And then it'll go to full-fledged design, and it has to be installed and operational by 2025, July of 2025. So we have 3 years to do that.
Thank you.
And also, the purpose of the smoke test, so you could just tell the public, so they understand, is an excess of water coming into the system, and we're trying to find out where it's coming from?
Right, so inflow and infiltration, it's a couple of different ways, right? So infiltration, it's water that, so inflow is if you connect your gutters
Which you're not supposed to do.
direct, well, yeah, not to the sewer, you can connect them to the storm sewer, but not to the sanitary sewer.
Right.
You connect your sump pumps.
So people know.
You shouldn't be doing that. So what'll happen is if it's directly connected in, smoke will go back into somebody's house. It's not toxic smoke, it's more of a steam kind of smoke, but it's still a smoke. Infiltration is if there's cracks in the pipe, if it's on the top, the water will, by pressure, get into the pipe and go in. There's cracks in the pipe, but we've done an inspection on that, and the piping there looks like it's in fairly good condition. There's probably 1 or 2 areas. We fixed rooted areas. We've done repairs on the system over the past couple of years, but our flows are still high. So the next step is to do this and start getting people aware of what they should or should not be doing.
Yes. Yeah, you had said you raised that one manhole where in the low-lying area. So we have been working to reduce to I&I.
Correct. We're trying, it's a battle every sewer system has. If you put in a brand-new sewer system, you essentially will have I&I in there almost immediately. It's the nature of the beast that you have. In this case, we have a permit that says you can only, thou shalt have flow of X. And when it rains, our flow is, it's 1.5X, and you can't have that. The state will come down and go, you're in violation now, guys, you're gonna get fined. So we wanna fix that before that happens.
Thank
So
you.
we're under this order of consent, so we're still kinda covered, in the sense of they're not gonna fine us anymore because we're already on an order of consent, right?
Right.
So item number 3 is, so that will go to resolution. Yeah. Item number 3 is, again, Richard Franzetti, PE, Town Engineer, to consider request to acknowledge emergency repairs and service for Carmel Sewer District Number 7.
So this memorandum is being presented to the board for emergency invoices submitted in excess of 10,000. Infomark, the operators of Carmel Sewer District 7, advise the engineering department that a sinkhole on top of a 48-inch culvert pipe that's 4 foot in diameter at the entrance of Carmel Sewer District 7 had expanded. The sinkhole had been previously covered with a steel plate, which had now the sinkhole has extended beyond the steel plate after some of the heavy rains in early June. This presented significant safety concerns for the workers that going in there, Infomark workers, and the sludge hauling company Earthcare, because they're bringing in a semi when entering the facility or leaving the facility. The repair was deemed an emergency, and Ed Cook was directed to install a new drain pipe. There are invoices in the amount of $8,601 and $10,734 and $7,268 for Cook Excavating to repair these culvert pipe manholes. The work was performed on June 3rd, 6th, and 8th, respectively. There are insufficient funds for this repair, but a budget transfer from the unreserved fund balance for the operating budget will be performed, and the amount of transfer will be included as an estimation of funds necessary to carry the district until the end of the year. So that was from the comptroller.
Thank you. Anyone? Do you have a?
Yeah, there's just a question on the dates that I'll speak to you about afterwards.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go forward with that resolution then.
Yes.
All right, number 4, again, Richard Franzetti, PE Town Engineer. Consider request to award bid for installation of network access control systems for the Town of Carmel Police Department. Now, this has been going on, this was from a grant, $50,000 for security.
Perfect. So, and I was going to lead in with that. You took away my thunder. So
I
we
take it
have a
back.
grant, or the Chief Hoffman and Lieutenant Dearman received a grant of $50,000. When we get to this, it's ultimately going to be a no-cost project. However, as provided a resolution, the engineering department advertised for bids of the reference project, C280 improvements at Town Hall. Bids were received and opened by the town clerk on June 16th. Bid opening results have been provided, indicating 5 bids were received. All bids were tabulated and verified, and no irregularities were found. The lowest bidder is DAS Parking Service. Since DAS is a contractor that had not previously performed work for the town, we checked references on them, and based on the references, we recommend that the project be awarded to DAS for the lump sum price of $46,850. Going back to the fact that we have a grant for $50,000, that's good. So there are sufficient funds for this project, and we request that we award it to DAS.
Okay.
To give a little more detail on what this is going to be, there's going to be, at least people are going to have to swipe in, magnetic swipes on the outside. These doors here, the 2 doors going in, I believe we're going to have it there's doors on the outside, we're going to have it all there. It's all going to be, it's going to be regulated. The computer system will be set up for the police department to do it. So similar to how we get gas now, we have to swipe and put in information. In this case, we're just going to have to swipe to get in and out of the building. There'll be an intercom system up here, intercom system at the main office down at the police station, swipe cards there. So there's a whole bunch of new improved safety features that'll make this building a little more secure, a little safer. And if Chief wants to touch base on this and provide any more info, if that's good. If not, then we can move forward.
Anybody?
Nope. Thank you.
No? Okay, so item number 5 is, again, Town Engineer. This is consider request to authorize change order number 1 to the contract C268 townwide water tank rehabilitation installation for water districts 2, 3, 8, and 14. Net increase of $26,425.69.
So as you mentioned, C268 is a townwide water rehab, installation and rehab of water tanks in Carmel Water Districts 2, 3, 8, and 14. It was awarded to Arrow Construction, September of '21. Work under the contract is underway. Actually, the work is completed in Water District 3. The change order that is here is under Water District 2. There was additional rock excavation up on top of Everett Road. Excessive rock was encountered during the excavation of the ring wall. In Carmel Water District 8, prior to the contract going out, or while the contract was out and being bid, or it was somewhere after the fact, the town replaced a 20 horsepower VFD with a 25 horsepower VFD. Let me take that back. They have to, the change order is to go from a 20 horsepower variable frequency drive to a 25 variable frequency drive horsepower, because we changed the pump, the high lift pump, over at the water plant. And that happened, if you remember, I was here sometime in January, and we had made that request, and that was what we put in, was a 25, but we, that impacted this one. It was Carmel Water District 14, that has the replacement of an 8-inch ductile iron pipe with 6-inch materials. There are different pipe sizes than expected underground. We had to add 3 6-inch gate valves to provide additional isolation in the system. And we had to relocate the transducer vault and yard hydrant, precast concrete with a precast one. And that was by the system operator. So in essence, the net increase in Water 2 is $9,000, in Water 8 is $2,000, and in Water 14 is $15,000, and change as identified in the table for that total of $26,000. There are sufficient funds in the capital budget for this expense, so we had bonded for it with some of this anticipation in there, and we recommend that the board approve the change order. I know, Susie, you don't like when you have cost
Yeah, no,
change orders, but...
I spoke to you about it,
Right.
thanks.
So, sorry about that. And sorry, board, for having change orders. The
Yeah,
next
so-
couple of, the next couple of no costs, but go ahead.
So we do have a grant that we put in for some of the money back on these. That's still in the works. Also, we have the ARPA funds that we were going to put towards this project, these multiple districts. So just to let people know that we are trying to lessen the
Ease the
burden
pain.
on these. Yeah, yeah. So is everyone okay with the
Just
resolution?
one quick question. As far as Carmel Water District 2, with the additional rock excavation, I understand that had to be done to set the ring wall. What is exactly the ring wall?
So they're putting the new tank up there, so this was the area where they had to excavate the area adjacent to the existing tank, and that's what they were talking about with that.
So the tank sits in the ring wall? Is that where the tank sits into?
I'm sorry, 1 second. We called it a what? So the ring, yeah, so that what they do is, if you go up there, if you've been up there, it's that concrete wall, it's the circular wall that they're gonna lay the tank on top of right now.
Okay.
So they
So I
have
thought
to
it was-
excavate around that, beyond that area.
Right.
And they just hit excessive rock in that area. We accounted for rock in the bid package. It just was more than what was, and we thought we'd have, because we thought there was less rock in the front. There actually was more rock in the front. So
Thank you for the clarification.
Rich, for the overall rehab project, what's the end date, the projected completion?
unfortunately, I wish I could tell you I have an end date for it. It should be by the end of the year. However, so for Water District 8, we're waiting for that variable frequency drive. They had ordered a 20 horsepower one, we had to change it to a 25. I believe that'll be coming in September, end of August, September. And then we'll be able to rehab the 2 tanks in Water District 8, Crest and Kings Grant. We can't do it until those come in, so that's number one. The other 2, which are the 2 new tanks, 3 is completed, so then we're left with Water District 2 and Water District 14, brand-new tanks. We're waiting for steel to come in and, give us that so we can then build those tanks and put them online. I think my next one talks about the,
Great, thank you.
what they're talking about for that, what they were hoping for, so.
Okay, so we'll prepare a resolution for that, and on to number 7. Go right into that. That's consider request to authorize change order number 2 for contract C-275, Carmel Sewer District number 2, bar screen and grit classifier, and that's a no-cost change.
We're at that one, okay.
I think we skipped 6.
Oh, I skipped
Skip
6.
6, right?
Yeah,
All right, go back to
We'll
6.
go back to 6.
6 is, again,
no cost
contract
for the
6.
tank one.
It's C-268, change order number 2, townwide water tank rehab installation to Carmel Water District 2, 3, 8, and 14.
Correct. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a no-cost change order for a time extension on the project. It kind of addresses Councilman Baranowski's request. They're saying due to supply chain issues, steel shortages, they want to have substantial completion by January of 2023. The delay was not caused by the contractor, it's just this whole supply chain rigmarole that's going on in the world. And so we recommend that this change order be signed. So the VFDs are coming in September, so that means we wouldn't be able to work on it, Water 8, until sometime after that.
Questions, comments? No? All right, so resolution on that, please. And then number 7?
So this is C-275 at Carmel Sewer District 2, the bar screens and grit classifier. This particular portion of the project was awarded to Whitcount Incorporated. They've indicated that timelines for design and fabrication and install of the equipment was not being able to be completed within 10 weeks, as outlined in the contract. They have indicated that due to, again, manufacturers providing equipment and supply chain issues, that they are unable to get the equipment here in time. They feel, they know that 2 out of the 3 pieces of equipment are in, the other one's coming in about 2 weeks, and they'll have it all installed on or before September 7th. It's a no-cost change order on this project. And that's all for the headworks at Carmel Sewer District 2. And I think-
Anybody? No? All right, so a resolution for that?
Do you want me to do my little public service announcement, or are you guys going to do
Oh.
that for me?
Wait on that one.
I apologize.
Nope, no, as long as you're sitting there. Because number 8 involves us both, so you
Correct.
might as well be here in case the board asks a question that I can't answer. So number 8 is consider authorizing entering into an agreement with the Mahopac Central School District for the temporary use of the Lakeview Elementary School parking lot. Water District number 8 has requested assistance with their maintenance and repair needs in the area of the Lakeview Elementary School. The contractor needs to provide an alternate water source for approximately 4 to 6 weeks this summer. So a water tanker truck will need to be somewhere over in that area, High Ridge Road, near the western entrance to the school. We asked if the school district would allow us to park the vehicle there. We said that we would provide insurance and cones and fencing and whatnot. So they agreed to that with this agreement number 8 right here. And if anybody has any
That's going
other
to be,
thing,
is that for this summer?
Yeah.
this summer,
It'll be
coming
done-
up.
It'll be completed before,
September?
Oh, see,
it'll be completed before school starts?
No, it will not.
it was supposed to be, but they
It was
delayed.
supposed to be, but supply chain issues with the variable frequency drives that won't come until September have caused that issue. So
Have we discussed with the school about,
that's,
There were the time. Initially, it was supposed to be
okay.
just in the summer, so be completed by the end.
So when is it supposed to start?
As soon as those parts come in.
Unfortunately.
when those parts, soon after those parts come in, sometimes, so what it is, all it is if you go up through High Ridge Road,
Very good.
if you go High Ridge Road into the school, into Lakeview, there's an island that kind of sticks out before you go into the parking lot. We're going to place right adjacent to that, next to it, a hydro-pneumatic tank that's going to be fenced in. The hydro-pneumatic tank is going to supply, it doesn't supply the water, it supplies pressure to the system that the tanks would normally have provided. So there's a hydrant along High Ridge Road, we'd be able to run all the piping up there, so it would only take up a single spot,
Okay.
maybe 2 at the school, and it would be unobtrusive in the sense of it's not going to be in the middle of the parking lot, it's not going to be taking up space near the school, it'll be fenced in and off to the side, so. So the pneumatic tanks, the pneumatic tanks are similar to the ones that we used over in Water District 3. They're big white trucks, I don't know if you have a picture of them there, or that's the
I didn't
location.
do the truck, I did the picture of the
All right,
location.
so it's not going
Yeah,
to
the
interfere with the
location.
new school year for those coming in and
It
out?
it should
based
not
on-
interfere with
Based upon what the
Correct.
photograph shows?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, so we're just, as long as it's authorized, we'll go into that agreement, and I will sign it, and we will be going forward.
Gotta have water.
Got to have water.
Right, and so a similar pneumatic tank, just so the board's aware, this is when we're doing work on the Crest Road tank. When we do work on, over in Kings Ridge, there'll be one set up in the cul-de-sac over there. But again, that'll happen when the VFDs do come in, and they're able to set them up at the pump station as needed. Once that's there, they're gonna come in. It'll take a couple of weeks, set it up, make sure we balance the pressure on the system, drain tank, clean tank, rehab tank, decon the tank, fill the tank. It'll happen on each one of them, so that's where we're at.
Perfect.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. So do you want to mention Farmview Estates, Water District 12?
So, yeah, so thank you, Supervisor.
you.
And the board is aware, so we've issued a voluntary water restrictions at Farmview Estates, which is Carmel Water District 12, Alona, Jennifer Lane, that whole area, Tommy Court. The wells have been just running essentially nonstop. We're running the pumps have been running nonstop. The wells are, running dry, or will run dry if we keep this up. So we're asking people to right now voluntarily, don't water your lawns, don't use irrigation, don't wash your cars, don't do things, don't fill pools, so it's all codified, the other things that we normally have, but we sent a notice out to those residents. We didn't have the signs, we just posted them up today in the area. The information's been posted on our webpage. It hasn't rained. You all know that. I mean, my first memo, when we talked about Sewer 7, we had crazy rains in early June. It hasn't rained really since then. And now we're getting the heat of the summer, and we're here now a month and a half later, we have issues. So Water District 7 may or may not be the next one. That is, oh gosh, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but that's over on Way Across and that neighborhood. Those pumps just are working nonstop right now. So I recommend that all water districts and all people in every water district curtail non-essential water use. That works for Water District 2. Our system will run 24/7. According to Joe Scollin, the Water District 8 plant, which is Water Districts 1 Business, 8, 10, and 13 Rolling Greens, the pump, if it rests for 2 hours or 3 hours on any 24-hour period, that's a lot. So we have the water supply, but it's the equipment that's going to die, right? Because we're running it too much, too long, without a rest. With the groundwater system, which is what we have at Water District 12 and most of our other water districts, we're just running the wells and dry. So we're going to just get to a point where we're going to have to truck water in. That's going to cost the district's money, which we don't have and we don't want to spend if we don't have to. So please curtail any non-essential water use until we have rain. And if anybody knows how to do a rain dance, I please recommend that you do it.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks, Rich.
And then our final item, number 9, is consider authorizing memorandum of understanding with the Mahopac Central School District for a 1-year extension with our agreement that expired June 30th. So this will run us out till June 30th of 2023. So on the recommendation of James Gilchrist, our Director of Parks and Recreation, that's why I'm asking that the board consider extending the contract with the school. This is our use of the Geary Rink, which I'm going to mention in the comments. We're going to do our e-waste drop-off day. We use it for that. The rink is used as a recreation facility. The fields, we use the lake property that we're right now in negotiating for the kayaking and some other park things. So, and we're in negotiations with that too, is to try to get that park property for ourselves and the rink, but that isn't going to happen, within the next week or month. So, if we push this out one more year, just roll the contract out a year, then we can, renegotiate when there's less properties that we're utilizing.
Good.
Anybody?
Nope.
Nope.
That's good.
All right, so, comments-wise, Our engineer, Rich Franzetti, mentioned District 12 about the non-essential water use and the problems that we're having, throughout town with what's turning out to be a drought. We attended Councilman Lombardi and I attended the parade, and Councilwoman McDonough was there in the audience with her,
All the grandbabies.
with her grandbabies. So Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department Carnival is still going on this week. It'll be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week. Get down there, have some sausage and peppers, buy a 50/50, take the kids on a ride. We are doing our Hits on the Hill, our first free concert at Airport Park, sponsored by Chartwell Pharmaceutical. That's the new pharmaceutical, or the new owner of our pharmaceutical up in Carmel, and also PCSB Bank. It features the Carmel High School Rock Band and the Mahopac High School Illusions Band, plus there's 12 in total, and there's a headliner, California Dreaming. It is free. This is a free concert to any resident. You just have to go onto the Recreation or call Recreation, the website, or Recreation on the phone. You need a parking pass. That's how we're going to control that it's the number of people that attend. And then I did mention the e-waste. That's going to be September 17th, Saturday from 9 to 12, the Geary, Michael Geary Roller Rink. There's a flyer on our website. Please go to our website and sign up for the text messages for alerts, similar to you would have gotten an alert about the drought situation that we have. So that's all my comments. When we adjourn, we're going to go to executive session. Anybody else comments?
Just have one thing for Putnam County's having their 4-H Sunday Fun Day event at the Putnam County Veterans Park. That'll be this Sunday, the 17th. Gates open at 8 a.m. They'll have a lot of vendors, the car show, and a bunch of other things. So make mention.
Thank you very much. So can I get a motion to go to executive session?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody. Thank
Good night.
you.